Have you ever really stopped to think about how we manage to feed billions of people on this planet? It's a huge, fascinating puzzle. And today, we're going to piece some of it together. It's a story that's literally written on the land itself, a really complex tapestry woven across every single continent.
So, yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How does it all work? It's one of those things that seems simple on the surface, but the answer is incredibly complex. From the food that ends up on your plate to those vast fields you see out of a plane window, everything is connected in this intricate global system. So let's dive in and see how it works.
This map is really our starting point. Just look at it. It's this vibrant mosaic of greens and yellows and browns. Each one of those colors represents a totally different way that we cultivate the land. It's not one single system, not at all. It's a massive collection of methods, and each one is finely tuned to its local environment and has been shaped by centuries of history.
Okay, so to even begin to understand this incredible patchwork, we need to talk about the first and maybe the biggest divide in all of agriculture. And you know what? It all boils down to one very simple question. Why are we farming in the first place? On one side, you've got traditional, or what we call subsistence, agriculture. The goal here is pretty straightforward: survival. It's all about feeding your family and your immediate community. Then, on the other side, you have commercial agriculture. And here, the primary motivation is profit, producing food to sell in a wider market. Seriously, this one single distinction, it explains so much about the world's food landscape.
Now, you might think that commercial farming is the whole story these days, since it gets most of the attention. But get this, traditional agriculture is still a massive part of the picture. A truly staggering 2.7 billion people, that's about a third of the world's population, still rely on it.
And please don't mistake traditional for primitive. This is not a primitive system. It's actually a highly sophisticated one that's been perfected over thousands and thousands of years. Sure, it's labor-intensive, but it can produce really high yields, enough to sustain dense populations for generations.
And then, at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have what's called industrial agriculture. This is really the modern commercial approach taken to its absolute extreme. Think mass production, usually of a single crop or a single type of animal, all of it fueled by technology, chemicals, and huge investments. And all designed for maximum efficiency and, of course, maximum profit. Okay, so with that fundamental divide in mind, traditional versus commercial, let's look at some real-world examples. We'll start with how we grow our crops, and I think you'll be pretty amazed by the incredible variety of methods we use.
First up is a classic example of traditional subsistence farming. It's called shifting cultivation. You'll find this mostly in the tropical lowlands and hills in parts of the Americas, Africa, and Southeast Asia.
So here's how it works. It's basically a land rotation system. Farmers will clear a small patch of forest, and the ash from the burned plants actually provides nutrients for the soil. Then they plant a variety of crops. After a few years, maybe 4 or 5, the soil's fertility starts to drop, so they just move on to a new plot, letting the forest grow back. It's a cycle that works really well in places with a low population density.
All right, now let's do a complete 180 and look at the commercial side of things with plantation agriculture. This is a whole different ballgame. We're talking large-scale, specialized farming that has really deep roots in colonial history.
I mean, just picture it. Absolutely massive operations, huge areas of land, all dedicated to a single cash crop. Think about those enormous banana plantations in Latin America or the sprawling tea estates in Southeast Asia. This is agriculture designed purely for export and for profit.
And finally, for crops, we have to talk about the real powerhouse of the modern food system, commercial grain farming.
This is industrial agriculture in its purest form. We're talking vast properties, often owned by giant corporations, all dedicated to producing grains like wheat or corn for the global market. The name of the game here is mechanization and just maximizing your yield through all kinds of technology. Okay, so that's the plant side of things. Now let's turn to the other half of the equation, how we raise our animals. And just like with crops, you're going to see that exact same spectrum, from the very traditional all the way to the very commercial. We'll start with one of the absolute oldest forms of animal agriculture there is, nomadic herding. This is a way of life that is just perfectly adapted to some of the world's most difficult environments.
Now, don't think of this as just random, aimless wandering. It's not that at all. It's a really calculated, continuous movement of livestock, following seasonal patterns and a constant search for pasture and for water.
It's a subsistence lifestyle that allows people to survive in places where settled farming would be totally impossible.
Next up, a commercial example that's directly tied to our cities, dairying. This is all about producing milk and milk products for huge urban populations. And for dairying, location is everything. I mean, the reason is simple, right? Milk is perishable. So historically, these farms have always clustered around major cities. It's a capital-intensive business, all focused on supplying the market with fresh dairy. And then there's livestock ranching. This is pretty much the animal equivalent of that commercial grain farming we talked about. It's all about one thing: scale. You've seen it in the movies, right? The vast open ranges of the American West or the massive grasslands of Australia. This is all about raising cattle and sheep on a colossal scale, specifically for the meat export market. It's a commercial enterprise that takes up absolutely huge areas of our planet. So let's just step back for a second. From a tiny, shifting plot in a rainforest all the way to a massive cattle ranch in Brazil, we've seen just how incredibly diverse our food systems are. They really do form this complex tapestry, woven from the threads of human need and environmental possibility. I think this quote just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures what we've been talking about. Every single one of these methods, whether it's for survival or for profit, is about us, humanity, actively reshaping the planet. It is one of the most fundamental ways we interact with our environment. Which, of course, leaves us with one last really crucial question. This map we've been exploring, it's not static. It's changing all the time. So as our climate continues to shift, as populations grow, and as technology keeps evolving, what is the future of food going to look like? How will this global map be redrawn in the decades to come?